Okay, so you want to understand, apply the scripture, but don't know where or how to start? Let me help you. So this week, I wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit. Most times we talk about the Bible verses and we break it down, but this time I wanted to touch on the different characters of the book and just really show you just how relatable we are to the characters, and also just to show you that God's power is timeless. Things that people were going through way back in the day during the earlier times, even in Old Testament, are something that is not new to us today. As the Lord says, there is nothing new under the sun. And I think the story with Moses is a good example, because if you read the chapter, it talks about how God uses him, um, which Moses was deemed to be unqualified by the regular society, but God uses him to do a very powerful thing. And so we are going to read the text and break it down a little bit. And hopefully, by the end of the Bible study, you will feel, a little bit more relatable to his story, and know that even though you feel that you have limitations, even though you are not perfect and you may have some flaws, it doesn't disqualify you from being a server, to God. And so we are going to go right over to Exodus 3:10 through 14. Reading the text, Exodus 3:10 through 14 in the New Living Translation, and it says, "Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt." But Moses protested, "Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people out of Israel? Excuse me. Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" God answered, "I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain." But Moses protested, "If I go to the people of Israel and tell them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' they will ask me, 'What is his name?' Then what should I tell them?" God replies to Moses, "I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel, 'I am has sent me to you.'" God also said to the people of Israel, "Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you." Whew, that is a lot. So, just that passage alone, when it talks about how Moses went to the fiery bush, and God had a request for him. He said, "I've seen how my people are suffering, and it's time for them to go. And you are going to be the one to let Pharaoh know that he has to let my people go." And if you read the full chapter, you will know that Moses has a speech problem. So it causes him to stutter or just kind of tremble over his words. And so that was a big reason why he did not want to go. Not only does he not have any status in the kingdom of Egypt, but here he is, just a regular Joe, and he has a speech problem trying to go to, a leader of Egypt and ask him such a big request to let the people who are working for him every single day to go. And so that is a big request to ask for. But God is firm in what he says. He said, "I will be with you. I will be with you." Um, and he also says, "Tell them who I am. Tell them who sent you, because his people know his name, Yahweh. I am who I am." And so pretty much God is saying, it doesn't matter what you have going on. It doesn't matter your status or circumstance. I am with you. And because I'm with you, this assignment will be carried out regardless. That's a big point. And so just to break down the text a bit, um yeah, so we talked about God's call despite limitations, how Moses was feeling inadequate due to his speech problems, but God reassured him. And if you read the text, it talks about how he sent Aaron with him to be his spokesperson. So even if he wasn't feeling confident enough to get the words out, Aaron was there to relay the message. So not only is God with you, but he's sending extra help to make sure the assignment gets done. Anything that he's asking you to do, you'll never have to do it on your own. He's right there with you. You are just the vessel, the connection here on earth to carry it out. Everything has realms. Um and God is so powerful and so high that he cannot lower himself to such a low realm like this to take himself all the way down, put himself in human flesh form and carry out business. That is the whole purpose of why we're here, to serve and do his work. He has little pieces of himself in us so that we have the power and the tools and the authority to get his work accomplished. um And so, just with their back and forth conversation, it kind of touches on the purpose over the personal weakness. So, just because Moses has a speech impairment, it doesn't take away from the assignment that he has and what that assignment will do for the future moving forward. Um, if he would have told God, no, I'm just not, I just can't do it. I just can't do it, Lord. I'm so sorry. I'm stuttering too much. I ain't the one for it. I'm not doing it. Now, this person that God has written in the book to take care and carry out his assignments of getting his people of Israel out of Egypt is set back because someone feels like they don't have the power and the authority to do his assignment, even though he said that he would be with them. So we can't, that is kind of thinking that you're bigger than the program, and it may not even be intentional, but to even question God, you know what I'm saying? To even question God and question why he is asking you to do these things, or what makes you so qualified to carry out his assignment, is kind of an insult, because it doesn't matter. The purpose of the assignment and the reason why he is asking you to do this is bigger than you. It's bigger than you. It's so that you can touch more of his people. And that's one thing that I have kind of accepted in my life and have taken in personally, because there are definitely things and times where I don't want to do something, or I feel God is calling me to do a certain assignment and I'm feeling like I'm not the one to do it. I'm not qualified to do this assignment, but what God is saying is, it doesn't matter what you have going on. It doesn't matter what certifications, what qualifications that you have going on. Yahweh, the creator, the God, is asking you to do this assignment because the purpose of the assignment is bigger than you and what you have going on. And so when we can accept that, then it makes it a little bit easier for us to take on God's assignment, because is bigger than us. God is with us to accomplish it, and it's for a bigger purpose. Um, so yes, and then so the next note I have is facing challenges with faith. Um, and also I want to kind of just jump back a little bit. Let's go over to 2 Corinthians 12:9 real quick. I have read this passage before, but I just want to retouch on it because um like I said, it kind of humbles me um and takes the pride away, because sometimes when we have physical limitations or mental limitations, we often, the first thing we do is ask God, why did you make me like this? Why could I not be made normal? Or, why do I not have what Sally has? Why do I not have what Billy has? We question God on why we are made the way we are, why we operate the way we are, why our situation is the way it is. But in reality, we really need to be thanking God that He put those limitations on us. Thank you so much that you have made me, that you've put that limitation on me so that I can't live in my pride. Thank you for putting that limitation on me so that I don't get ahead of myself. So I always can remain humble, knowing that I will have to depend on you for everything because I had this limitation, and that's okay because your strength is more in my weakness. I can strive better knowing that even though I had this limitation, I got God and it's going to get done regardless. And that makes me feel more better. It's not prideful. No, I can't do it all on my own. I need God. And I'm so thankful to have Him. And He shows grace too. Even though you do have this physical or mental limitation, the grace of God allows you to do any and everything that you desire to do. So when we have to change our perspective in our mindset and know that God is never doing anything to harm or hurt us or make us feel less than or anything. These limitations, these little obstacles in our life are set in place to keep us humble, keep us on track, and know that you're not doing anything. God is. And that's something that we have to thank Him for, because who wants in this crazy world and life that we have right now, who wants to do it alone? With the way that the world is operating right now, it kind of feels like we have our back against the wall. We don't know what the solution is. We don't know what's coming next. So to know that we have such an intentional, calculated, powerful God, and the end of the story says we get the victory, we get to win, that is so refreshing, and it is calming to the spirit to know that whatever's going on outside of this window, outside of my door, outside of my house, outside of my family, my community, or even within, whatever chaos, whatever craziness is going on that I personally don't have the answer for, a higher supernatural power has it, and they love me and they care about me, and they're going to make sure that I'm good at the end of the day. That is such a humbling and refreshing feeling to know. Genuinely, if I know my back's against the wall, I can't call mama, I can't call daddy, but I can call on Jesus, and it's done. And it's done. So let me get to the text because I had got on my soapbox about it. Let me just go straight to the text. Sorry. 2 Corinthians 5, okay? It says that experience is worth boasting about, but I'm not going to do it. I will only boast about my weakness. If I want to boast, I would be no fool in doing so because I would be telling the truth. But I won't do it because I don't want anyone to give me credit beyond what they can see in my life or hear in my message. Even though I have received such wonderful revelations from God. So to keep me from being proud, to keep me from being prideful, I was giving a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. The 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away, each time He said, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness." So now I am glad to boast about my weakness so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in weakness, in the insults, hardships, um, and troubles that I suffer from Christ. When I am weak, then I am strong. And so, as I have just said, when we embrace the limitations that we have and know that God is going to meet us halfway and finish the job, that's what we can be proud and brag about. Not anything that we did, not anything that we came up with, but the grace of God. And we're gonna wrap this thing up. And so, even though I'm wrapping it up, I highly encourage you guys to read the full story of Moses, because that's probably one of my favorite stories. You know, they got the story, they got the movie. So definitely check it out. But even if when you go deeper into the story, when Moses does successfully lead the people of Israel out of Egypt, the the story doesn't end there. You know, it's not just one big celebration. Oh, you know, we're free now. We're out of Egypt. We can live freely now. The work is not done. The work is not done. When they got out of Egypt, they're physically out, but now they have to free their minds. Barbaric lifestyles or not having as much obedience, all of that has to be tightened up, because now we're away from our ruler and we have to depend on God and his guidance to build our own community. And so it talks about Moses becoming frustrated at times because the people of Israel were starting to sin and just become lazy and just wanted to do their own thing. Like Moses went to go talk to God for a second and he came back and they building fake altars and stuff, you know. So and that was a lot of stuff that the Egyptians did. So it's just like in today's time when you apply it to yourself. If you're in a toxic household, or if you're surrounded by people that's not really doing the best, and you've been surrounded by, you know, that environment, getting out of that environment is great. That's the best first step. But then after, you have to do the mental work of changing your mind and changing your heart to operate like Christ. Um, to dead and get rid of old habits in your old lifestyle and learn to live in your new one. And so, in hindsight, if you kind of put it into play with today's world, that's kind of what we're doing on earth, being in this world that is so evil and people are just doing all kinds of things. When we are reborn into the life of Christ, we then have to learn to change our mind and change our heart so that we can operate and live in the new world of Christ. Um which is not easy at all. And it wasn't easy for the people of Israel then, but it's definitely possible. And it was possible then, it's more than possible now. And God was way more revealing then, you know, than he is now. So, you know, we got to do the work. And so just to have a few reflective questions, it says, how can we relate Moses' story to our own lives? And just as I've said, you know, dating our old life and starting our new life is going to take some changes. But as long as we are willing to change our heart and change our minds to live for Christ and say no to the old things in our old life, um, that's the best way to apply it. And also, if you're ever feeling like you are not qualified or your limitations, whether being mental or physical, keeps you from being successful in life, use Moses' story as motivation to know that despite whatever I have going on, God is still going to use me to do his work and to be successful in this life. And it also says, in what areas do you feel unqualified? How can you trust God to use you despite those feelings? And as I said, um, God likes to show out. Okay, our God, he likes to show out. He likes to put on a show, and it honestly makes sense. Why would, not saying that he doesn't call on these people at all, but to do big work and to just really put the head on the hammer Why would I choose someone who's going to church 7 days a week, praying all the time, knows the Bible front and back, practicing their word each and every day? If I call on that person to do a certain type of assignment, people are going to say, of course, they're always in the church, they're a prophet. Of course he would call on him to do that. They're in the Bible every day. They're sin free, they're perfect. Why else would you call on that person? So what God does? God goes down to the deepest and darkest crevices of the earth and pulls out his people and says, look, this a drug addict, this a murderer, this person is handicapped, this person has a speech problem, this person has, some type of limitation that the average person would look and say, God ain't using you. God is nowhere near you. And he takes those people and he performs miracles. He changes lives. Mind you, Jesus was born in a manger. And now he has been chosen to literally save us from our sins, take us out the book of death and into the book of life. That is the biggest example that we have, okay? And so when we think that we are inadequate, think about Moses, think about Jesus. God is using the quote unquote most unqualified people to do the biggest work. So just know he is going to use you, because whatever you're going through is nothing that he hasn't seen before. And so we're going to end this off with a prayer. Message me, and I will help you, or I will make a video about it to help you. But I really hope that you enjoyed this Bible study. Please share this with your friends. Go back and watch my past Bible studies. And I hope that you are blessed. Bye.